Hmm. What's going on here? Is it not like detecting it? I guess this is what I get for trying to do pre-release again. Let me see. Ah, that makes sense. Renderite.exe, that's interesting. Well, I see myself at stream. Things should be all working now. Welcome. Welcome to the Resonite Art Team office hours. I'm Aegis Wolf, and pretty much you're tuning in. Welcome, and come in to chat and ask questions about, well, what Resonite is, what you can do with it, creative process, and such surrounding it. I'm currently running the pre-release testing build. First time streaming within it. For some reason, it was a black screen at first. Wasn't sure why, but it was basically focused on Resonite itself, not on, well, the visual. It's now fundamentally how Resonite renders things is a bit different. In a nutshell, we use Unity for a rendering engine, and then the underlying logic underneath, like all the math, physics, networking, etc., is just something else. If folks ask questions within the within Twitch chat, if you end it with a question mark, it'll pop up within a chat window. I got right here. There's been some bug fixes lately. Made me want to check out the build as well. There's also some updates to the camera lately as well too. I'll show off some of those. Let me find it real quick. Although I did not favorite the newer one. At least not yet. It'll take a bit for people to see the notification and such. A little bit later, I was working on something right before joining in here, which was the camera updates with helping Rue out, another part of the art team, with adding a couple of features to the camera. Actually, I'm curious, if I favorite this camera, at least the prototype version, close the streamer camera, open it back up, it is still using the old one, I see. Oh, it probably means that I have to go into another world, because for this world it's still using this one. That doesn't mean I can't showcase the new features of it. First of all, uh, welcome to the stream, Kite VT. I'm doing alright. Was a bit busy earlier, but finally got myself onto the pre-release again. I'm actually streaming from the pre-release build, so it didn't take that long to launch and start up. Took longer getting the announcement for the stream set up than to load in. But yeah, for those just tuning in, welcome to the Art Team Office Hours, and feel free to ask questions about Resonite itself, or, well, the creative side of it, like building worlds, avatars, objects, or even using Resonite as a tool as well. There may be a couple more bug fixes coming in. So far, it's much more stable than it was. Do note the warnings that Fruits posts within the updates channel about using the pre-release, as long as you're aware, just in case. Because in the past there was like flashing lights and stuff like that with broken particles, for example, or lights. So far those have been fixed. Actually, speaking of, I wanted to check out some of the things that have been done with the reflection probe fixes in here. But in the meantime, I'm gonna look for a multi-tool. There we go. Oh, and for those just tuning in, there's been some updates to the camera itself. Some of them have been done already onto the camera that's being used right now, where like one of the main issues that people have been having is it used to use a component called flip at user, and that's to basically make the UI rotate itself depending on how it's facing you, to make the UI always face the player. Now the problem is, say when you take the UI of the camera, rotate it like portrait mode, it'll basically flicker back and forth if it's upside down or not. You can probably see it flip right here. This is one of the updates where it has a higher threshold, so it kind of flips whenever you go to like that corner there now. As well as another feature that was added, you flip it back up, is oh, you can also see too that if I flip this around, this is the back side of the camera. So depending on which side it is, it'll always face the preview and the UI towards me as well, or towards anyone else locally. So if someone else is in front of the camera, they'll see the camera preview and all the buttons. And they can mess around with all the buttons if they need to. Now, another feature, which I'm going to have to do this in order to actually showcase it, is this top button right here. And what this button is a, well, simple mirror button. That way it helps me and anyone else, recording. It's kind of like looking in a mirror compared to looking at a camera. Because sometimes I end up trying to look at my left, but in reality it's on the right on the camera, so this this would help people a lot. Now, the other feature that is going to be added pretty soon to the Essentials is a new filter mode. And what this does, oh, I realized I was in front of the camera showing a blank screen. Yeah, we just add like a box here, for example. Gonna showcase this feature again. So say if you're trying to position something in front of the camera, and then it's kind of like the opposite. But yeah, uh, this next feature, however, is a new addition to the filters here. So you got like some presets that were pretty much made and like some common effects. There's this one right here, which is an LUT or a LUT. And what that is a special 3D texture that is used on a material. What that material is a LUT filter material. So if I crack this open here, go to the filters here. Let's say we do this one, which is also a LUT. We can see this is the material that's used within it. Now a LUT is like a 3D texture. Thing with 3D textures, well, it uses 3 dimensions, and it uses that information to change how colors show up on like a camera or a visual. Filmmakers use this all the time for creating different effects or different tones of like a film's visual. At the bottom here, you'll see there is a new reference field here. You can simply drag and drop texture 3Ds in there, and it will change the LUT filter in real time. As you can see on the inspector here, it's being driven. And that little field only pops up whenever you're in that mode. But yeah, that sums up the stuff with the camera. There's a few more fixes we'd like to do in the future, but actually, one more thing I'd like to show. Just one of the reasons why we'll probably not be able to realistically fix or add some features is if you look within here, this is the interactive camera component. Now I'll show you where it ends. Right here. It is a very monolithic component. And sometimes it's one of those systems where if you breathe on it wrong, it could explode. And more than likely, say for example, if you wanted to make a thumbnail camera for like making item thumbnails or avatar thumbnails and such, it's probably best to just make your own. This kind of system is built for, say, standard like a 16:9 resolutions. But in future iterations, it'll be probably better once a kind of a coding pass goes through and breaks up that component, similar to how the photon dust for particles have been updated, where you can have like different effects or different components of a particle system as different component uh, parts within an object in Resonite. Some of the stuff is kind of better off making your own camera components or cameras in general, I meant, within Resonite. And we have a question here from Kite VT. The world that I'm in, what is it? It is Dunes by Rushen. I was actually just in this world earlier with him, updating the camera. Hello, Rue, if you're watching. I know he's busy working on a few other things and IRL stuff too, so yeah. Yeah, let me kind of go over the world a little bit if those are people aren't familiar. It's kind of like an oasis on another planet. Because if I look up here, that's a gas giant. Keep on forgetting I have that smoother edition on this camera. I can just move it around. I'm guessing the chaotic energy of decoy stream is a much different vibe from this. I'm just, I don't know. I'm just here answering questions, talking about creating things. We're much more closer to finishing the stuff that we're working on within the art team in regards of uh, the stuff on the content side uh, for the splitting. Because I know there's like a lot of stuff, a lot of work being done for the coding side to make the optimizations and such. Uh, at the same time, there's a lot of like content being made. Every single default world, at least at the moment, has been refurbished. At least I'd say probably like 95% of it done. Because there's like one last go through that we're going to be doing for every single world. Updating the reflection probes, the very last thing is probably going to be that, and then any other like small bugs and content issues that people submit. At least the ones that we can do at the time, with the time we have within the GitHub. As of late, I guess the latest thing that has been done is a update to not just the camera but also the local home regards of a new ambient track. Basically making it more subtle. I know it's probably still gonna be the music that'll probably induce PTSD when people crash out of their other worlds and end up stuck in local. And then every time someone plays it outside of that, thinking they crashed out of their world or accidentally closed Resonite, that is an unavoidable truth for that. But yeah, some of the other things I've been playing around with in regards to music has been, for example, the intro music of the Twitch streams. I've been playing around with FL Studio, found some neat sound fonts and uh, samples for like vocals, for instruments, and kind of seeing what sounds good and seeing all the different tools and plugins for FL Studio, alongside many other things. Which I could probably bring it in, just play it in the background. I have it already saved in here too. As well as I should bring in the latest version of the help tab as well after I do so. I'll just let that, yeah, it's looping. Right. While that plays, I'm going to look for the other thing that pretty much has taken up a lot of our bandwidth the past probably month or two or more, off and on. Uh, Assets, help screen. Okay, to the point where if I open up my inventory, there's like, on the first person here. This is how many iterations of this help screen there is. It fills an entire page and then some, which currently is going through the uh, process of being proofread by both mods and mentors of the Resonite community. Right now, all the locale strings have been basically wiped from my install of Resonite because you can literally drag and drop like a locale file and it will update it in real time locally for you. But right now on GitHub, it is being proofread right now. But every single piece of content has been done. Actually, yeah, that was one of the last things that was needed to be added. Is just a desktop background image as well as what was the other thing that we were? Okay, avatar anchors. Where I made a custom Resonite art style themed plastic chair just for this occasion. I will set it up for the essentials pretty soon too. Because why not? Yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out. From both like a new user experience like perspective as well as a even a developer perspective because having all these links and resources at the ready would be incredibly useful for anyone. Like these Resonite bot commands is going to be a big boon for pretty much anyone that wants to manage more their account or say headless stuff, whatnot. Of course, there's going to be things like added over time. Like one thing that we kind of phased out of the scope currently is like a full-on tutorial for building an avatar from the ground up. There are tutorials out there on YouTube that can help, and pretty much something like that would be best just going through the process of seeing all the ins and outs of setting up avatars, the pain points that people would commonly run into, and tips and tricks on different setups for them as well. Ah, ah, welcome, Decoy, and welcome the bird crew to the art team office hours. Yet again, I talk about the help tab earlier and new features of the camera. I figured I might actually bring out the camera real quick to show off some of the ones real quick. They're not, some of them aren't in the essentials yet, but It will be soon. I just don't want to save him in this version. Though I did see a question by Kite VT. Is there anything that you wanted to put in the help tab section but didn't make the cut? Uh oh, and yes, JV Den, I am on pre-release. Hello. I am in frame rate land. um or .NET 9 land. To answer Kite's question, I really wanted to get to getting like a full polished version of like creating an avatar from the ground up, as well as some building tips and tricks and optimization tips. It's just there's a lot we have to do to in order to make this UI itself function. But the neat thing about this, it's something that we can easily update over time. It's in your dashboard by default. It will be a new tab in there. And if we update it, if people just really load their dash, not reset it, but like, they open up Resonite again after it's updated, it'll be the newer version of it. And if it's put in, say, like the Avatar Gazebo or Tutorial World, this is a facet just like how I can literally just spawn this in the world. We can just update those worlds. That's one of the reasons why it's not in the Cloud Home specifically. It's gonna be in your dash anyways, so there's no reason to duplicate it in there, but it makes more sense to put it in the tutorial world if need be, or in the Avatar Gazebo. Probably what we'll do for the tutorial world instead, depending on how heavy this is. Probably not really heavy though, but in regards of if it's worth putting it to distract, that might distract users from going to, say, the end of the tutorial. The part right before the teleporter will have a pop-up that will show users, hey, this is how you open your dash. This is the help tab if you want to learn more. And then you can go through the teleporter and either go to populated worlds, your cloud home, or the avatar gazebo. Now, those that just joined in, welcome again to the Art Team Office Hours. Let me scroll all the way back down here. I do want to showcase, if you're watching Decoy, or if those aren't watching yet, want to check out some of the new features of the camera that we just added. First off, we have this button here. It flips the view, which will be incredibly helpful. It's not on the camera that I'm using currently, as you can tell, because I haven't went to another world because I favorited the new one just now. But there's also a new type of filter, and that is like a LUT. So kind of like a custom color grading that filmmakers use, and you can just import those as 3D textures, and then you can just put whatever you want in this right here, and it automatically changes it. For example, some of these are just other built-in examples. Actually, this one's a built-in filter in Resonite, the black and white, but these two are LUTs, or LUTs. And last but not least, when you rotate this to do like portrait mode, it does not flicker anymore whenever you're near the side of it. Yeah. The LUT edition was done just before the stream, and the rotation fix and the mirror button was done by Rayuvi and I yesterday or last night. And to answer Anadia's Shark, yes. Actually, I'm gonna crack open the camera real quick and kind of show you how the asset is handled. If I go to smoothing root, filters, actually CPI I think is also a LUT. Okay, so this is what's powering it, a LUT material. Now right here you have a LUT, which is like just a field here. Let me scale it up even more so I can actually see. So LUTs are not a 2D texture or an image in a traditional sense. It's a 3D image. When you import them, they look like a fog volume pretty much of like different colors depending on what kind of LUT it is. Now with the custom LUT option, it just adds a little field down here that connects to the purple field right here. That means it's being driven. Now, I see there's a request within the Twitch chat. I recommend creating a GitHub issue for it. GitHub issues are not just for coding related bugs or feature requests, they also cover content. And what that does, that helps us remember what it is and be able to help with feedback and testing as well. Okay, that is actually a good. um, Before I get to your question, Anadia, quali- Qualitorium is making me get ideas on what I could call this stream if it's just me. But I kind of leave it as the art team office hours, mainly because we have some other folks from the art team come in, whether it be Rue or others. Mainly, though, others on the art team have been mainly focused on working on a lot of things, so their bandwidth is pretty limited. Even today, Rue is pretty busy. Another joke name is ASMR Aegis, is another one that folks talk about. Even Froogs joked about that a couple of times in the past. But yeah, let me bring in the next question here. I like this thing where I can just literally drag and drop the individual questions here. So Nadia Shark asks, question, does the camera have an aperture depth of field mode? Not at the moment. Though people have made custom cameras that effectively gets close to it and tries like using different like some of the built-in filters within Resonite. There's one where it's called a built blur filter, and I've seen that in conjunction with using raycasts. And basically, what I've seen done is you have a laser pointing from the camera, similar laser to say making a cutout image, and what that laser would do, I think I just, well, that's just a visual. It still works. Okay, that's just the laser visual that's not working right. Well, I guess I got something to fix later. But say there's a laser in front of the camera. What that does, it's like a laser pointer. Whatever it points, it hits something, and that's the point where, say, if it hits a user, like a player or whatnot, and then it positions a camera offset of that point behind it using a blur filter, kind of blurring out things behind them, and then maybe one in front of them as well too, at a different blur amount. What is going on with my eye tracking today? Either I need to clean one of my eyes, or just my pupils have been doing that. Yeah. Modern says the depth fade divisor on the blur material could help with that. They're correct. Actually, I can go into smooth POV and then get this material tool. Go to create new. There's a whole category right here, the very top, filters. So grayscale, that's like what I was using earlier on the camera for like filter. You got the LUT filter, you got refract, and you also got things like blur. So if I look at this real close, I don't know if it's going to be shown in the camera as much. Okay, I'm going to put this on a quad or like some kind of flat plane to make it easier. Quad. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Kind of hard to see it. Okay, you can see that it kind of cuts out the sky a bit because of the rendering, but that's kind of strange that it doesn't show up in the camera as much. Maybe if I tweak the values of it. Well, this is what it looks like here. You even have a refraction option here too. You can change the strength. Maybe it's just not as strong in cameras. Yeah, that's the case. Okay. Now that's pretty obvious. Now, whoa. Yeah, that effect can definitely be adjusted. This is Resonite's Velma mode, by the way. If you accidentally fall over, you have to find your glasses. There you go. That's interesting. Oh, adding a single iteration here. What about 4? Oh, I see. This button where it says iterations, it's like how many like after images or duplicate images are there. Interesting. If you put 0, it just breaks. This is all you see. But yeah, that's the blur filter in a nutshell. And I may as well fix that laser, because that's going to bother me, knowing that it's not fixed. I also realized the music kind of loops a little bit weird. Actually was looped in here. Using the options with it here to trim it a little bit and to make loopable. So there might be some tweaking that needs to be done on FL Studio or Audacity. You can't hear the music? Wait, let's see here. I'm gonna double check if audio can be heard. Application audio. Let's see here. Renderite render. Advanced audio settings. Okay, I think I know what I'm gonna do instead. It's the Vipro microphone. That's that. I'm going to just pipe it through my yeah. Yeah, that should do it better. Now it's directly being piped through my headset's audio. Yeah. Do you hear the popping sound? It's me taking this material and putting it back in. I can also hear the popping sound of the stream as well. Why is it set to audio or sound effect? Multimedia, there we go. Then I can just decrease that and just have that be the main thing. Yeah, the old one was made to be a bit more like ethereal and a bit subtle, but it wasn't subtle enough to really be something that would be good to be played in like the background constantly. So we looked at changing it up, making it more subtle, still have the same motif going through. Like for comparison, no, the world did not crash. This is the old one. It's a bit more ringing, a bit too dissonant, I think it's called for the term. But what I did make up for it is gonna try to make more music for other parts of like the different worlds, whether it be another music disc, a update to the tutorial music as well, the music cues there, and the stream as well. Like it can bring in the let's see here. As I look through my cloud, ambience. Ah, yes, a preview of the opening soundtrack when you first load into the tutorial world. They're actual samples. It's a sample pack called. Let me open up the studio. The Spell Singer. Let me type it out here. Yep, if anyone's interested, that's what the sample is called. It's pretty good. Wanted to get some kind of like really good vocals in general in like my tool belt for music stuffs, and yeah. I recall the old intro audio was Stelladrome, I think. This was like royalty-free music, sci-fi-esque like music. That's not the looping version. Or is it? Oh boy. Ow. This is why I should be careful not to... Yup. Ow. That was before I mixed that audio. Trying to drag audio into Resonite through SteamVR is a oof. There we go. That's what I was trying to look for. Was that it? I think... I am going to bring in that chiptune one, but I am going to just turn down the volume for that, because I never really done anything else with it. Okay. There's a VST, just like a virtual kind of like instrument using the old NES kind of like chip sound effects. then this is the one that's being played in the intro of the Twitch streams, at least right now. It's looped. I'm gonna see if I can find the loop start of it. Now, to add on to what Babbler was talking about, the thing about it is having multiple motifs. And then sometimes you can mix them together or make them two different tracks. Because right now you got the motif of the local home and the motif that Raivi created, which is where the, for example, the guitars were playing. Now the guitar and the bells, funny enough, are the sound fonts that Toby Fox used for some of the Deltarune and Undertale soundtracks. Wanted to really mess around with those and see how those were made, because funny enough, Toby Fox, or Tricky Tony, depending on who you call him, he uses FL Studio. I'm gonna see if I can find the other motif. Which now, messing around with these new samples and new, they're not samples, but it's like sound fonts. There we go. Resonite Steam soundtrack when? Is a good question. From Ace on Twitch. That would be interesting. I do want to eventually polish these more. To a point where it's like a full like set of soundtracks, and some of these are very short, and I'm still learning how to like write music as I go. Though at some point I do want to look into in the future, seeing if I can get tips from folks or even commission people in the future to collaborate with. It's like working on Resonite itself, I wear a lot of hats along with a lot of other folks on the team. That is way too close. There we go. With the amount of different things that I do, eventually the team will have more folks to help with specific things. Gloopy plush when? Socks the Fennec asks. That would be kind of interesting. Would it be a collection of individual plushies that he can just arrange around? Or would it be one giant plushie of a circle with the gloopy stitched in the center? That is a good question. Magnetic plush spherical harmonic lobes qualitorium asks. Although, you know, I've seen online is like if you mess around with magnets to a point, you can get like magnetic levitation with like two different magnets balanced together. I've seen online where there's a like an LED clock, has like a nice smooth wooden finish, but in the center it has like a digital clock outline with like LED lights in the center. But the unique part about it is like a little steel sphere that you just set on the side of the clock or on the bottom, and then it just levitates using like a set of magnets, kind of like locking it in place. I wonder if that same technology can be done for something like this with the tools. That would be insane. Actually, floating gloopy sculpture, that would be cool. Actually, thinking about realistically how you would build something like this. Um, I think I talked about it before a couple, like 3 or 4 streams ago, where you would have like the center be one of those like magnetic compasses and like liquid, but it's like you got the compass in the center, which is like probably out of like metal of some sort, and then in some sort of resin, like clear acrylic resin, and then within a liquid, and then another outer sphere out of like hardened resin. And then for the top here would just be like either thin wires or small acrylic sheets holding these, I guess, little pedal things there in place, connected to a ball bearing to kind of spin around freely. And then down here, probably if we wanted to make it actually work as like a not quantum, magnetic levitation, you probably have like a magnet there, probably a couple other magnets surrounding that larger magnet. And then on the bottom here, for like a table or desk, you have a magnet configuration that would basically make this float. It's pretty neat. And that clock, I think, actually does use electromagnets to actually move the ball, and it uses it as a second hand. And it goes around in a circle, floating around in a circle, almost like on a maglev. Actually, that's how maglev technology works. It pushes the train physically up using rails, and then it pushes it across like a railgun. And it's how railguns also work too. Or coil guns, depending on what you use. Official Resonite railgun. Uh, Give me a moment here. Go to here, go to this old thing, and then, yeah, that's a grenade launcher. That's not. This is the closest thing, I guess. Does that answer your question? Resonite the flamethrower. Okay, I have a sketch of that somewhere. Oh, like in the same kind of style as this. Man, I need to update this damn thing. um, this was used for the community event that we were going to try to do, but due to lack of certain features and performance issues, figured we'd set it aside for a future date, like the Battle Knights. Especially with the advent of spatial variables and the splitting update. Actually, I think these don't even use photon dust particles yet. That would be, yeah. Although one thing I will say about armaments in Resonite, the bow and crossbow have been updated with a newer projectile system. When we did the refresh of the whole Cloud Home tutorial, etc., went through on like a side project trying to update that projectile system to be more performant and have more features. It uses less protoflux than the old versions because it had like different protoflux for different types of projectiles. Now it just has one main kind of uh, set of flux that can be just tuned and adjusted for any kind of projectile you'd want. Now there's yet another system that I'm wanting to do that would be even more performant, but it won't do everything I think that the other one would be able to do, but it's honestly good enough for like a lot of use cases for like projectiles or thrown objects. Because the idea is what the projectile system that's in there right now, there's also a standalone version if people want to check out how it works and such. But it literally duplicates an object and then it launches it at however fast you make it. You can make it bounce off of walls or objects, make it affected by gravity or not, how much affected by gravity, how much it loses velocity after it bounces off of things, how much it can bounce before it just sticks itself somewhere. You can put custom decal or visuals or sound effects on it. It's just an object that goes in space and has a collision detection system on it. But another approach that I was like looking at, because one way I was thinking about is the performance impact. If you're like shooting constantly those projectiles over, that's my controller falling off of my desk, but if you shoot it multiple times over and over again, imagine like five or so different people constantly doing like a machine gun or something, that's going to add up. Sound effects, particles, etc. I mean, you can probably combine things together by, say, all the projectiles reference the same assets, but they're just individual weapons that just use the same kind of projectile. But another thing, too, I've looked at while looking at different games, they fake the projectiles, at least the visuals. And under the hood, it's just an invisible object that goes across, or not even an object at all, technically. You can do it. What it is just a hit scan, what it's called, where you raycast from a point. You got like your starting point. It goes to a certain amount of length, and then it goes from there. It's like it's a similar method to how like rendering is. I'm trying to what it's called. Remarching, remarching. But it's like technically the system's acting like it's shooting a projectile, but it's an instance of a ray marcher because you can use asynchronous context of protoflux. Essentially, you're making an instance of that thing running every time you pulse it or turn it on or send a signal to it. So every time you send a signal to it, it makes this theoretical particle going across, scanning where it's going. Now, I can make it like be affected by gravity by just adding the mathematics of gravity depending on your local user gravity, for example, and make it ricochet by if it hits at something at a certain angle, it bounces off at relative angle. I still haven't fully finished that one yet. That's something I gotta go through and learn a bit more of the math of. One thing that it might be difficult to do is a tracking system, although it could be done, but the visual part might be the hardest thing to do. Because the thing is, it's just an invisible object. Well, how are you going to do the visuals for it? You do it via particles. Now, if you've seen on YouTube Fuchs's video of a literal particle waterfall of like particles that would destroy the bit rate of this stream if I posted in here. But imagine like a staircase on like it was one of the uh, worlds called Viridian Islands. So it's like a floating island. You got an upper portion of the island, a staircase going down to a lower portion, and then another staircase going to another. Now imagine just particles just flowing down, bouncing down this staircase, colliding with everything and everyone within it. There's like 5 people in this world. No frame rate impact. It's just smooth. It's crazy. And like, if you think about it, now imagine you have just a very cheap running math going through with these invisible projectiles. Now the thing about that, those projectiles in that video, they're being affected by gravity. Now, if you have the same parameters of the invisible fake projectile and then the one rendered with particles, you can basically have the same like result, but for a cheaper price in performance. Now, reason why like the other projectile system might still be useful is for things like say like a projectile that you can control manually or track an object. It might be harder for like projectiles to kind of move around if it's just like a projectile and then you got the particle. Trying to have the particle match it is where it gets tricky because you can make particles bounce off of things and have it basically mimic like a object being thrown because it uses Beppu to deal with the physics and gravity when it collides with things. That's one of the kind of side experiments I've been doing is seeing if I can make one of the most uh, not only as customizable projectile system, but also a very performant one. After playing like years of Halo or Half-Life, Gmod, Battlefield, a whole bunch of first-person games or third-person or any kind of action game that has some kind of projectile. It uses different functions depending on what it is. And even just simple raycasts for some games as well too are just easy. And that's just like just shooting a laser instantly from point A to point B and then placing something where it hits. That is easily doable and has been done many times before. Projectiles, however, it's a bit more. I feel like I'm talking too much about projectiles, but it's something fun to mess around with. But also a headache when it comes to mathematics. And then there's vehicles, which also use raycasts, at least currently. Which is probably uh, did I miss any questions? I feel like I'm gonna go as much of rants here and there about things as Fruits does. I'm gonna declutter this world real quick. Kinda already went over a lot of this stuff here. I'm gonna just take a screenshot of that so I know that I need to fix that later. As well as it will also be on the stream to remind me that I'll have to fix the laser visual on that later. How much time do we got? What? How long have I been streaming? I don't pay attention. An hour and 15 minutes on the dot. Okay, we'll have 15 more minutes. There's plenty of folks here. If I continue going on a rant. I'm okay with like stopping and answering questions here and there. If you put a question in the chat and end it with a question mark, it will show up on that Twitch chat you probably saw earlier. There's like a portion on the right that shows all the Twitch chat messages. I may as well tinker with the other thing that I was working on earlier. Speaking of vehicles, I probably brought this out here and there a few times on the stream, but it's a fully functional hover bike. And I did not save the latest version. Actually, I probably shouldn't even work on that in this this version anyways, now thinking about it. Anyways, yeah. I've been going through updating this thing. It's a character controller vehicle system. It basically uses the movement that the player has because players are affected by gravity and physics, just like this does, and it uses that under the hood. Technically, it's not the ideal way of doing it, but it's literally the only other way of doing it if you wanted to make it uh, functional with like gravity and such, or like collision, at least in an easier method of doing so. There have been systems that use completely just raycasts and math, and that scares me sometimes because just to get like the raycasts and math to work with this was crazy to go through because it has math to dampen it up and down, which thanks to Lexi in the community went through. They're the ones that made the standard engine vehicle or standard vehicle engine and the helped create the Atom car system back in the day. They helped with the suspension system on this thing because the mathematics is a little strange, at least for me learning it. Ah, we do have a question from Qualitorium. Are procedural meshes like performance heavy? I'd like to animate stuff by driving parameters to make them wobble around, but I don't have a sense for their performance impact, or in general the impact of animating meshes and textures via components slash flux. So, if it's texture, for example, more than likely it's better to animate it in a way that isn't a procedural texture. For example, the night vision filter on this camera here, it has a procedural texture on it, which is the noise, static noise. Now the thing is, I'm not actually generating random sets of noise on this. The trick is I'm scrolling it so fast that it doesn't even matter. It looks like it's just noise. But for something like a mesh, it depends on what you're doing. If it's a mesh that's just there, it exists, it's fine, usually. And like with anything in a world, if you have probably like hundreds of thousands or like millions of something in particular, that will take its toll. But it's a matter of what you're doing with it. It's like the thing about how oh yeah, as Prime says too, slot counts really don't matter, and it matters less even on the .NET 9. It's a matter of what you do with them. For example, if you have a procedural mesh that animates constantly, if it's something that you want to animate constantly, you have no choice of doing so. That makes sense. Yeah, the way to go when making something, make it work first. Then if there's ways to optimize it, then that's a bonus. Like if you can't really have any other way of doing it, then that is the most performant option. say if you're making like, actually, let me show you a thing that has real time like changing of procedural meshes. And technically, you see that all the time. Photoflux. That's made out of procedural meshes. Those wires, when you connect from point A to point B, every time you move them, they update. But when you leave them as is, they're just there. So it kind of just depends on what you're doing with it. Okay, for example, they have a world with icosphere meshes. On all the gizmos in the world are constantly bouncing around. Now, with the memory leaks in particular that you're mentioning in that comment, that sounds like, honestly, sounds like some sort of bug. There's memory leaks that I I would probably see if that's a GitHub issue already, and I would also test it on the pre-release as well too, and test it again post splitting release as well too, because tracking is I'm facing my tracker or base station, okay? um, I'm just gonna face the other one. Uh, do note, and this is like also on Brooks's like every time he posts an update to the pre-release, of course there's the warning for like if you're epileptic or whatnot, just in case if there's some of those like bugs that happened earlier when it comes to like say flashing lights or so. There's also a note that the performance is not conclusive to like what it would be like when it's finally done. There's A, debugging stuff there, B, probably some still bugs that cause performance issues depending on, well, could be hardware, could be software related, could be like what platform you're on. I know there's still some issues with like Linux users as well trying to run it through Proton. I know Cyro's been hard at work trying to get that working. Eventually we'll have like native support down the line. It's just a matter of like we're still using Unity. That's one of the problems. Eventually we'll swap Unity for something else, but also other like compatibility issues. But that's a whole other topic. Um, cameras and cameraing anymore? How long has it been like that? I don't know. Whatever. I probably accidentally clicked it. I'll just move it up there. I got. Ah. Thanks, Steam VR. I have another base station on the corner of my room where somebody's even staring directly at it. Maybe I just need a third one. Or just get all four corners or something. That's what Ryuvi did. Well, we got 6 minutes, but I think I'll take this for a joyride. Especially with the new effects and such added onto this thing. And then I'll take Twitch chat with me. Don't read chat and drive in real life, folks. Let's see here. Actually, I'm gonna put it in the third person. Got things like sound effects and particle effects too. It's pretty neat. So is it even again. I really want to bring this into a track world. Eventually, or even build my own tracks, too. Is the gravity lowered too much? No. There's like sounds when it bottoms out, sounds when it hits things, when you turn, when you hover. I just gotta adjust the engine sounds to sound a bit different when you're using the actual thrust instead of just how fast the vehicle's going. I even made a test track for this using a brush. Let's see if we can find it here. Okay, it's actually attached to the vehicle. That's a problem. I'm gonna grab it and jump. And, okay, that's also blindingly bright because of the lighting of this world, so I'm gonna change it. Edit material. Actually, what if I just... Okay, then. I tried getting the sand texture, but I guess it's not getting that. Ah, that's why. Alright, that'll do. That'll do. Let's go into third person here. And zoom out and make this look like a third person game here. And I'll just drive via looking at the stream view. How about that? Come on. There we go. Wonder what happens if I add smooth POV and then add a little bit of smoothness to the view. Then kind of go into third person again. Oh, now it's looking like a game. Well, if you're gonna say, like, I'm not wearing a helmet and everything, driving all that, I'm also reading chat. I don't think that's also a good thing either, while also driving. Don't do this in real life. Especially with a hover bike, because, I don't know if you need a pilot's license for something like that. Probably not. But probably some other type of license. Oh. Whoa. Now this looks like an entirely different game now. I'm just... Yeah, doing it in Resonite is fun. Though I apologize if people are also motion sick prone even for something like this. Though it feels like it's a drone following someone doing like an autocross on like a motorbike right now. want to do more streams where I'm just like driving on a road or something like that. Kind of like those streams where people just put their phone or whatnot at the side and they have like someone else read chat for them, or they have like the auto reading in chat. That'd be fun. And I can just answer questions while just doing a cruise. But yeah, I'm gonna run off to the sunset. And then probably end the stream at that point. Or I'm at the edge of the map now. Okay, going to first person with that mode is a little uncanny. It is. But yeah, that pretty much concludes today's episode of the Art Team Office Hours. Every single Friday. Yeah. Oh, come on. Every single not words. This Friday most likely will be our recap stream. And that'll be interesting. I wonder if we'll do it in the release. I'm not sure, but yeah, tune into that if we do that. And every Wednesday around the same time, we do the Art Team Office Hours. Every Tuesday on Discord, Prime does their primetime office hours on there. So you can tune into there to ask questions. And on Sundays, both Fruits does their Resonance podcast, which is also another pretty much office hours on Sundays, as well as either Git and or Prime, or not Prime, but Veer do their moderation office hours as well on Sunday. I do know that J4 also has started to do like a bi-weekly office hours as well too. I don't quite remember which dates there are. I'm gonna have to poke J4 again, but I think they do a mix. Last time they did, it was a mix of both Twitch and Discord. And in World, like asking questions. But yeah. Also, I think I find this very comedic, just me just standing completely still while the background is just still moving in the background like that. I'm gonna end the stream on this note. Alright, y'all take care. Have a good one.